Hey, 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 this is Mikael from Dark Tranquillity. You're listening to What's Metal.
Great that we can have a quick chat, even though it's very spontaneous. You are on a big tour, actually, 2 months, together with Ensiferum as kind of like co-headliners. Yes. How are things going so far?
It's beyond our wildest expectations. Like we didn't really know if this was going to work, with people coming out to shows. Are people ready? Are the restrictions lifted? All that stuff. Because obviously we've been planning this for months, and it seems like the perfect time to actually do this because it's been packed like every single night wherever we are. It's amazing, and people are so happy to be back in a crowd, and we are happy to be back on stage. So yeah, overall it's been insanely amazing.
It sounds great, actually. You have a very tight schedule, yeah? Only very few days off, yeah? Does this not wear you out?
Of course, it might do. Like, yeah, when we have like 19 shows in a row, and we have a day off in like 2 weeks from now, and that's just gonna us traveling from Italy to Greece on a boat. But yeah, it's insane. But we decided to do this, and we're fine with it. And I'm fine with playing every night. I love it. Yeah.
I just remember that when we did our first interview in '97, I just mentioned this. It was the Osmose Festival show. I think we did that the last night of the tour because it was in our hometown in Osnabrück. Oh, wow. And that tour was only 2 weeks. And you were telling me, dude, I just want to go home. I'm totally fucked. I'm totally shattered. I can't do this for any longer. So do you approach touring in a different way these days, or what is different back then?
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, now we know how to handle it, and of course we planned this ourselves. Like back then, it was just like, here is the schedule, here are plane tickets, go. You had no idea. And of course, we were young and stupid, and we got super drunk every night, and partied like animals. We still do, but it's on a different level, of course. And I really I'm really enjoying like where we are now. We have such a everybody who works with us and like on the tour and crew and everything are amazing. So it makes everything so much easier. Back then it was just like chaos, and then you're ready to go home. Now everything works and everything is great. So yeah, I don't have to worry anymore. Of course, we get tired and it's a lot of work, but it's tough to be away from home. But also we've been home now for 2 years, so this is good. Like we're really overcompensating in terms of touring. We started 27th of January in America, and we were home for 2 weeks, and then we went here. So and it's the 2 longest tours we've ever done back to back.
It's great to hear that there's so much enthusiasm. At the same time, I mean, you have a very recent lineup basically, right? The band members have changed quite a bit. I mean, how does that impact the feeling and the togetherness and maybe the fluency of how you can play the songs live? Because you have to transfer that knowledge, how to play the songs and what kind of vibes you want to transport. So how do you deal with that in the band?
I mean, and it's kind of like a recent thing over the last couple of years where a lot of things have changed, So we weren't prepared for it. Like when Niklas and Martin kind of quit, and we were like, how the fuck, like, do we learn, like, but of course, like every new member who comes in, like Niklas and Martin are always there. We'll send like guitar files and videos and everything, just like detailing, because they are very, of course, very not concerned, but like it's precious to them, of course. And the reason they're not in the band is because they chose not to be, because they need to do other things. But they still want us to sound as good as possible. So that has been really easy. Like for Johan, when he came in, like Martin and Niklas would like teach him everything, and then same with Chris. So it's so that has been. Of course, it's difficult. I'm not a guitar player anymore, fortunately, so I don't have to worry about those things. But we have such incredibly skilled players now that everything is really incredibly smooth, and I'm so impressed every night, like that it sounds better than we ever have. I think that on this tour it's ridiculous how good it sounds, and also I'm really proud of the fact that whenever we play, people don't go like, "Oh, I missed that guy," or that guy. They listen, and it's like, "No, this is as good as it's ever been, or better," you know. And I think that's something, of course, I've been concerned with, but now I'm very comfortable with it, and I love how it sounds.
You just mentioned there that you basically said, unfortunately, you're not playing the guitar anymore, because probably not all our listeners know that you used to play the guitar already in pre-Dark Tranquility times, when you were still called Septic Broiler, I believe. I mean, are you still picking up the guitar? Can you still play, or is it just somewhere in the corner?
I know how to hold one, and I could, basically no. So I never play. I play at home just for myself, so I can accompany myself when I'm singing. But other than that, no, I wouldn't even.
So when we were talking earlier, you said you were going to play "Punish My Heaven" tonight, and I said, okay, it's the first song that I ever saw you play live, and I was blown away immediately. This was actually probably the only song that I knew off the gallery when you came on tour with 6 Feet Under in '95, right? I knew the older stuff, and "Punish My Heaven" was, I think, included also on some sampler, wasn't it, back then? It was, or like, I'm not sure if it's the same version as on the gallery, actually.
No, it's a different one, actually, yeah. It's like the early demo version, or like, that we recorded. It's on War compilation, like from Malmö.
So I guess you dug that song out more like a tribute, maybe, to Fredrik Johansson, who passed away recently, which is, I think, a great thing to hear tonight. I'm really looking forward to that. Was it difficult to play that song live again?
It has always been kind of difficult because it's a very complex song, and it's written by 19-year-olds who had no idea what they were doing, basically. But so it's been a challenge. She's just like, how do you do this? But Johan, and now we have Joey playing guitar, and he's amazing, and so it actually wasn't that difficult. But we haven't played it since 2008. That was the last time we played it before this tour.
So you practiced it in preparation for this tour, or you practiced it while being on tour?
In preparation, but also on tour, because like Chris Emmett is not on this tour because he just had a baby, so he's at home, and then we have his one of his pupils, the students from America, Joey Concepcion, and he's amazing. So he had to learn like all these songs in 2 weeks basically. So it took a while. So we did like the first 10 or 15 shows or something like that without playing "Punish My Heaven," but now he's comfortable with it. So we started playing it day before yesterday for the first time in Paris. And
it's going to be great. I have another nerd question that I never asked you before. Okay. I asked all my nerdy Dark Tranquility questions in the past already, but Kenneth Johansson.
Yes.
I think he did photography for you, some cover artwork in the early days as well. And if I remember correctly, I couldn't find the info online actually now in preparation for this chat, but I think he also did stuff for In Flames in the early days, but primarily he did things with you as far as I remember. So what was his role in the scene, or where was he coming from, and what kind of like relationship was that?
We were looking for images for the first album for Skydancer. So me and Niklas were like just thinking about like what should the album cover be like, and I don't know exactly how it happened, but we got in contact with a guy who worked at Hasselblad, which is the camera manufacturer in Sweden, which is the greatest ever, and it was Kenneth, and he works there, and he was like a total photography nerd, and we saw some of his photos, and we saw this image of the sky, and we knew that the album was going to call Skydancer, and it just fit perfectly. So then we asked him, like, maybe you can take band photos, and it was all. I mean, back then he was in his 60s or 70s or something like that. It was like an old guy and total nerd geek, but so cool and funny and passionate about his work. So he took the photos for the all the band photos that we did for Skydancer. And then, of course, of Occasional Turn of Night and The Mind's Eye, he took that still life photo. Me and Niklas kind of arranged everything, but he took that photo. And also, like, so when In Flames started, when Jesper started In Flames, he asked me to sing on that first album. And I was like, yeah, sure, anything, for you. And then he was like, oh, do we need to take band photos and stuff like that? So we asked Kenneth again, because that's the only great photographer we knew. And also that cover it's not by him, but the composite is his. You know, it's a classic, you know, Earthrise photo made with the Hasselblad camera on the moon, surface of the moon. But then he added like a sculpture of these things that come out of the ground and composited that. And it's not, you know, computer composited, it's photography composite, which is cool. Yeah. So he was instrumental in taking really great photos and stuff like that. And he passed away a couple of years ago. But we were always in contact. They sometimes came out to the shows and you know, and watched the DVD. Though he was super old.
Yes, it's great to hear this story. Yeah, so let's briefly touch on the current album, Moment. I mean, it's been out since quite a while already.
Yeah, year and a half.
And I think responses were pretty much all positive. At the same time, you know, as in kind of like an old school guy that got into the band very early on, it's obviously, I mean, the music has changed a lot over the years. And while I enjoy the current album, I haven't seen you playing live since many years. So I'm really looking forward to for tonight. But do you think that your audience has changed over the years? Will this all be guys like my age, or will you have younger crowds as well? You definitely will have more girls, I know this.
I mean, I love seeing the progression of like the audience over the years, you know. You know, like you mentioned, like in '95 when we started touring, people came out in corpse paint because we were on Osmose Records and they thought we were a black metal band. Some of the shows, and then of course we have, you know, people who've been there since the very beginning who are still coming to the shows, which is awesome. But there's always people who kind of like maybe they started listening to us with Projector in '99, or you know, Character or Fiction or whatever it was. Maybe it was Mystery's Crown was the first song they ever heard, and then they want to hear that kind of stuff. So it's amazing to see, and also, of course we see a lot of parents with their children coming to the shows and, you know, enjoying it. So I mean, it's beautiful to see like how we can find a new audience with every album basically, and you can see like a huge age gap. You know, it's not just old record collectors, it's also like young and up and coming record collectors, you know.
Well, I wouldn't consider myself to be very well. I was born in '74, right? So you too, yeah. See, okay, so same age. We're not old guys, no.
No.
So we don't have the time to go through your entire discography as kind of like, you know, reviewing it from today's perspective. But if you look back at the band history, in your own honest opinion, what would be the kind of like the high points and what was kind of like the worst thing ever?
I mean, high points was probably like we talked about, like '95 releasing The Gallery and like finally kind of getting recognition and feeling that people were really getting it, you know, and understanding our music, and something that we were very proud of, but also something that had an impact, you know, in the with fans, and they respond well to it. And then of course that's the album where we started touring and kind of seeing how people react to the music, and so that of course made a huge difference, and it was very like that kind of informed everything that came after that, because okay, now we have our sound, we feel confident that this is what we want to do now, you know. Then I think like with Projector, for instance, like '99, we changed labels to Century Media. That was a big step for us, and also it was a very different album where we wanted to kind of break away from what was expected of us. Then I think like probably Fiction was probably like one of our more Damage Done, or Fiction was like some of the bigger albums in terms of just like reaching a new audience. With Damage Done, we started touring in America for the first time in 2002, and that made a huge difference, of course. So I think it's, you know, some of the releases kind of coincide with other things that you do, like in terms of how you tour and how you think about things, you know. But there's always someone, you know, I meet people every day that go like, oh, I discovered you through that album or that song or on that, you know, radio show or, you know, stuff, and it's always different. So for us, I mean, we just keep doing this, and, you know, and I love when things go in the right direction and we make changes that are positive. but at the same time, it's really hard to understand or to fully grasp like just how much of an impact an album has. Like, you know, normally we sell kind of the same amount, but the shows are just keep getting bigger with every year that we tour, which is fantastic, of course.
So there were no particular low points, really?
I don't think so. I mean, it was definitely, I mean, we always struggle. You know, it's like creativity is not something that you can just like pull out of your hat, you know. And of course we had struggles with members and all that kind of stuff, but it's never been a place where I think like we went in the wrong direction. I think maybe in 2000 we were very confident that we want to leave all death metal behind and we want to do something else. So with Projector and Haven, we tried to really change a lot, and it was really learning experience and great. But some of those shows, we played songs in a different way. We took some old songs and kind of remade them. That's probably something that I'm not very proud of, because it was something that we all agreed on, and yeah, let's just do this. But in hindsight, it was not a great choice. And I've seen some videos from some of these old songs, and I was like, what were we thinking? Come on, you know. But there's always, you know, this kind of hubris and this kind of, you know, we were so upset or frustrated with being labeled as like a Gothenburg melodic death metal band only, so that we wanted to reach out and do something totally different, so that we can prove that no, we're not just that, we can do anything, you know. It's like, and that's why we changed a lot of things. But we also, I mean, in hindsight, we learned so much from that, and we became a better band because of it. But at the same time, the reasoning behind it was maybe not the best.
So the show is called What's Metal? Yeah. What do you think is metal? Is there a definition for it, or how would you describe it?
For me, like what's always drawn me to metal and to extreme music is kind of like the passion that goes into something that is so kind of off, so different from anything else, you know. There's such power and energy in kind of expressing like your darkest thoughts and your, you know, your worst fears or your nastiest fantasies, you know. In comparison, like every other kind of music is kind of tame, you know. Whereas this is something like, you know, especially when I was 14, 15, I was frustrated and young, and I didn't know what to do with myself or with my life. And I found like music that kind of spoke to me and was like, fuck yeah, this is how angry I feel inside, you know. And finally I have an output. And I think more than anything, I think it's that kind of release that you get. So like cranking an album at home, putting on something super fucking heavy and dark and whatever, like balances you out, you know, and makes you, but for me, it makes me like, brings more harmony to my life, you know. It's like I tend to be, you know, happy with what I have, and I'm very content. But also, of course, like there's so much frustration lurking, and you know, and for me, I have an output. I can scream about things, and I write about things, and I stand on stage and scream at hundreds of people every night, and then that makes me very, you know, balanced and happy because of that. And I think, yeah, and listening to music and buying music and communicating and talking about music and how it affects it. I mean, it's just such a great part of life, I think, you know. And everyone I know basically is like a total music geek, and either a musician or a collector or just a super fan, you know. And it is something that is so vital and so such a big part of who we are, that it's kind of hard to hang out with people who aren't. You know what I mean?
It's a good final statement, actually. Thanks a lot for the interview.
Thank you. Thank you.